I would like to call to order tonight's board meeting on December the 4th, study session at 7:37. Roll call, Ruth Ann.
Member Carter.
Here.
Member Hall.
Here.
Member Patton.
Here.
Member Pulaski.
Here.
Member Fisher is here. Vice President Rollins-Gay.
Here.
And President Demet is joining us on the phone.
All right.
Here, thank you.
Okay. It's a little low.
Are there any additions or corrections? Or modifications to the agenda?
No, there are not.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to do, it's time for citizen statements. So if you wish to make a statement, you need to get the yellow, the goldenrod sheet, fill it out, and give to Lori right straight in the back. We're only allowing you 5 minutes to speak, and we'll have a person with the time, which will be Brenda.
I'm on my phone.
Okay. So the first person up tonight is that Scott Davis or Dowd? I can't read. Scott Dowds. You'll be first, and coming behind you will be Elizabeth Parrish. So you may come up. Okay, put those under there.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Scott Dowds, live at 2704 Susan Stone Drive. I know it's been a kind of a tumultuous last couple of months for the district, so I did want to start out first by saying I appreciate the board and the superintendent for everything that you guys do. I know it's not an easy job, so I do appreciate all the work you guys put in. So thank you for that. I do want to speak a little bit about restorative practices tonight. I know that that's been kind of a hot topic for the district. My older son, has had some issues throughout the years with bullying and things of that nature, and had an issue today where there could have been a suspension handed out or other punishments, but he was actually able to use the restorative practice, and it avoided any kind of serious punishments for this. So I was appreciative in that fact, because, you know, with him, he's on the swim team, and a suspension means a removal from the swim team, which for him would have been very upsetting. So I was happy to see it implemented in that instance. I think part of my issue with it was we'd never seen it before that, even though it had been around for a while, and I think maybe that's some of the issue that maybe some people have, is really seeing it in action and really being able to see what exactly it entails, how it works, you know, and what it can lead to. I also wanted to touch a little bit on, I know that the announcement was made that there will be a change in the administration, and I really want to put out there that I hope that if the search for the new superintendent is a very open and transparent procedure, and I really do hope that the public and our educators are very much involved in the search, whether that be through community action groups or polls or whatever it may be, because I know that with the Facebook group that we have, one of the biggest complaints we've had, you know, time and time again, is open and transparent communication. And I believe that honestly that could probably maybe not resolve, but at least soften the blow for a lot of the issues that we've seen. So I do hope that as that process moves forward, it's a very, like I said, open, very transparent, very community buy-in focused process. I know it can't be an easy decision to make a move like that, so I appreciate the gravity of that, but I do hope that the community is very involved in that going forward. And again, thank you for everything that you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next person, please. Following that person will be Nuka Fae.
Hi there, my name is Elizabeth Parrish, and thank you for remembering the pronunciation.
I
from
had
when I
help.
was here last time.
I had help from Don.
Okay. So I'm not going to speak to the personnel decisions here. Instead, I really want to talk about community engagement. When I first moved here, about a year after I moved here, the Champaign Unit 4 School District hired me and then a gentleman from the university because they had a referendum for a tax increase that would pay for facilities and other things that they had a strategic plan around. And the community kept voting it down. And it was at least 2 or 3 times. And so they brought me on board as the community engagement specialist, and Mr. Leneskog, who used to be at the university, worked with the oversight committee. And we did 10 forums throughout Champaign. And I wanted to share with you some of our takeaways. What we found is that Black people did not come to the meetings at the schools. We actually had to go to the churches and meet with them there. And we wound up doing some of our community forums at the churches so that we could engage all populations. And as opposed to the community forums being focused on giving information to people, it was really about eliciting information. And so people really had a chance to air their grievances. Like in every meeting, we even had like a parking lot facilitator. So if somebody wanted to bring up issues that didn't directly relate to what we were talking about and getting feedback on, they still had a place where they could go and talk about how they felt and the ideas that they had. And after we were done with that engagement process, the referendum passed. Part of the referendum process was putting together a very comprehensive report of what the community wanted to see happen in the strategic plan and with the facilities, and the district has pretty much kept to that, to the input from the community. So I just wanted to say that it feels like there needs to, that the tipping point in this community to really back restorative justice and to take on the challenge of it, because it's going to be challenging for everybody and uncomfortable at times, hasn't maybe yet been reached. And I'd like to encourage you guys to really reach for that and to engage the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, the next person's name, and then after her will be Reverend Dr. Evelyn B. Underwood.
Hello, my name is Nuka Fae, and I would like to thank you, every single one of you. I know that some of you I know since like 2010, and here I am again, very nervous to come here to speak in front of you, but I gonna do it. English is not my first language, so please bear with me. I would like to bring to you, to your attention about Urbana school public relations and how it affects us and affects our community. This semester, I have encountered so many negative comments about our school. Many places I go, such as movie theater or at my workplace. I think we can fix it. I can give you some, example. At the movie theater, the folks in front of me talked about how bad our school are, and one gentleman even advised the rest of the group to never sub here. Go to Muhammad School instead. At work, I was asked about problems at school. I was curious about this, so I went to school website, and I found one section very prominently say, good news. I was so excited, so I clicked on good news. And I read through all the news, and all the articles don't seem like good news to me. They're very scary, actually. So, we actually have like good news. Our Tiger Marching Band just won Grand Champion Award at El Paso, right? Our patron at high school marched in Macy Thanksgiving Parade. Many of our students at UMS and USS got into ILMEA, all state, to perform. I did not see any of that. So I hope that we can gather the real news, that not even fake, and post it and share it with our communities. We can do this. We can improve it. As a homeowner, I'm worried that folks would not want to live here anymore. As a community member, I'm afraid that, my town would be deteriorated. I am also a landlord. I have an honor of housing many Urbana school teachers, and I'm very proud of that. I am questioning that with all this, PR or what's supposed to be good news would leave my tenants or teachers wanting to work here. I would like to ask us to, get together, put our brain together and fix this. How much time I have left? Like 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
Okay, I gotta try to speed up. I would like to specifically address this very big concern I read in the news. And, Nuka said WILL or school board statement on November 30th. I was speechless. It is about our situation with Superintendent Dr. Owen. I do not know him in person. I am not his personal friend. I am a parent who have seen him at every school function that our family has attended. He replied to every email I sent. He walked with us at the UMS during the school walkout to pay tribute to the high school student who got shot. And he will stay behind to pick up trash afterward. At the football game, I heard his voice cheering our Tiger louder than anyone, and he couldn't be proud. He couldn't be more proud. I have to admit that I sometimes frustrated with him because he had to wait until last minute to announce about school closing. And I'm like, come on, I need to plan my life. But then when I listened to the voicemail that he left, the gentleman drove around at 2 a.m. in the morning to make sure that his Tiger can walk to school safely. I cannot stay mad at him for waiting until last minute. The statement, that issue can be better. I respect all the decisions that you want to make, and you need to make. I respect that. But Dr. Owen deserves better than that statement. This very statement, I'm not going to finish this sentence. This statement reminded me when the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, terminated FBI James Comey via the news. We don't do it in Urbana. That's not what we want to do. We should issue a statement to express our gratitude and thank him for the work that he has done, and to assure that the candidate that's gonna take his place, whoever gonna be confident that the way he or she will be treated. Public relations matter, ladies and gentlemen. Our town deserves better, so please, and you know how to connect. You are on Skyward. I can sit down with you and talk more about it. Thank you very much for your interview.
After Dr. Underwood, Ronnie Turner Winston.
Before I sit down, because y'all gonna start on me, in that 5 minutes, the choir was on my UPTV program. They going to Urbana High School Choir. You talking about they're going to Carnegie Hall in New York. I mean, we got wonderful things going on at Urbana in all areas. Now you can start.
Okay.
And I have to say, I'm going to get that idea about the parking lot. The parking lot. Now, some of those friends, Pookie's mama, Now y'all can start timing me. So many good ideas. I'm Reverend Dr. Evelyn Underwood, and I'm going to read mine. Because they had me on TV. Listen, everybody been calling me. That was months ago when I was here. I was sitting up when I knew anything. I was standing up. And they had me 2 or 3 times. People been calling me. I said, well, I'll make it true. I'm going to come because I do have something to say, but I want to give the parents time to talk tonight. It's time for them to talk. I talked on my radio program, you know, and told them what they need to do. Get here tonight if you got something to say. But maybe they can't get in. It should have been a larger venue. Praise God, because a lot of people got something to say. Bishop and I was at our church at 12 midnight, and it didn't have anything to do with this. It had to do with getting somebody to replace Aaron Ammons. But they had us at 12 midnight talking about this. Now they need to be here. Isn't that right? Okay. I don't have too much. Okay. I'm Reverend Dr. Evelyn Underwood. I just wanted to say I hope you make sure you get me on so that people can hear what I got to say. It might be too late, but Mr. John Dimmitt is the president of the board. I sent you a card. You know I love you too. But right is right and right don't wrong nobody. We need to keep, well, anyway, I don't think we need to let Dr. Don Owens go. Now, I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. Too many good things have been happening in this school district. Hallelujah. I'm going to play Mother Brooks now. Praise God. Dr. Preston Williams, as interim, is temporary. Now, don't get that mixed up. He is not going to come out of retirement. And I don't blame him. I'm not going to come out of retirement. Now, they made it was 100 days. Now it's only 120 days. And I don't know when the sunset is going to be on there. Only 120 days. Now, the board got to get somebody else after that. I don't know who it's going to be. It's up to the board to decide. Now, there are going to be 3 seats up. I don't know who they're going to decide to get. It will be up to this Board of Education. People call it the school board. They will make the decision. But I hope that they will get someone to keep what's going on. I don't know. So we need to keep what we got. We know what's going on now. Good things are going on. Yes, there's been some difficulties. But what I said when I came before, there's going to be some difficulties when you roll something out. He's admitted there's been some mistake in rolling it out. And then a lot of people left. There's some things that happened. But you don't throw the baby out with the bath. How did those folks say that? I'm not good at those things. Baby out with the bath water. Is that how they say it?
Yeah, that's it.
But because too many good things have happened. I don't have to tell you. You know about the compliance. Our name was not on any of those bad lists. You know I am in pain. But thank God for my talith. I'm telling you, I've been wearing it everywhere but the bed because I'm in pain. I got to get a shot on Monday. But I'm here because I've got a charge to keep and a God to glorify. And if I don't speak that which is right, then I'm got to face the God one day. And these children are good things have been happening for our children for many years. But when Dr. Owens has been in here and his people, we've expanded positive program for the last few years that help our students, especially students of color, African American Latina students, Congolese students, Native American students, and the like. Yes, there have been difficulties, as I said, but not as bad as the system and the media. They need to find something else to do. And some of the things they showed was from Champaign. People told us that. It was not from Urbana. Some of the things have been shown. Search it out. Search it out. Because people have said some of the things they've been showing is from Champaign and not from Urbana. Search that out. I want to say parents need to get involved, more parents, like parents of Long Tall Sally, Janai, Chico, Pookie, Jermaine, Nene, Tanisha, Alvarado, Jose, Alfredo, Cesar, and Decado. That's Indian, because my granddaughter is part Indian, and that's her name. And we have some Indian Native Americans in this school. So parents of those children as well as other children, let me get up. Get involved. I wish you were talking rather than me. Hallelujah.
I hesitate to sit down because I really am talking to the parents, not the board. So I just want to make sure everybody saw my shirt. This message is for you. Do something. So, oh, I can? Perfect. Okay. So I'm Ronnie Turner Winston, and I represent several different organizations in the district, but I am speaking for myself and myself alone tonight, and anything I say tonight is my opinion and my opinion alone. I do want to take a second to say that in regard to Dr. Owen, I know personally that he has gone out of his way to reach out to parents and get help and advice and trying to steer the district in the right direction. Unfortunately, he has really had a lack of support from parents and teachers. And so we've had a lot of finger pointing since last June about who's responsible for all the strife in the district, and that's why I wanted to turn away from the board, because it is just not a board problem. It is just not an administrative problem. It's involving the parents and the teachers also, and that's where we're lacking the support. Since June, I have started a movement, #ParentMilitia. Very few parents are marching behind me in this movement. When there is a travesty or a devastation to an area, the National Guard is called out to restore peace and calm to the area, and that's what #ParentMilitia is all about. We need parents to come out and help restore some of the order and the calm in the schools. The staff can't do it by themselves. They're outnumbered. When there's multiple children loitering in the hallways, one staff person per hallway is not enough. The teachers need to teach. They can't be out in the hallway controlling traffic. And so we've had some Google sign up at both the middle school and the high school for parents to come out and help. And I know that Dr. Wiemelt and Principal Brown are so inundated with all the other foolishness that's going on in the hallways that they have not had time to get to those lists and contact parents. But that should not be stopping parents from coming out to help. Just come. I'm at the middle school and the high school at least 3 to 5 times a week. I work. I'm a divorced parent. I have no help. But this is a crisis. We need to be there. We need to make time. We need to make sacrifice. I want to thank Ms. Fae, who spoke and said English is not her first language, but she sacrificed to come up here and speak in front of all of you due to possible embarrassment to herself, though you did not embarrass yourself. It was fantastic. And so that's what we need to do. We need to step outside of our comfort zones, make some sacrifices to get these children back on track. It's going to take all of us. We cannot be pointing at these people and saying, fix it. It is not just their problem.
So the next person is Leslie Sherman, and behind her would be Rick Bernettes. So Leslie. I'm gonna get some Kleenex.
I love the Sherman's a tough two to follow up on. But I wanted to come out today. I have a child at Leal School, and I had a child that went through the middle school a few years ago. I'm here to express my support to the board for the changes that are being made at the central office level and for the hard work that you do. I do request that I think there's a lot of confusion as to why a change was made. I'm not sure you can talk about it at this time, but I think there's a lot of confusion around this. And so I request that you please try to clarify that as soon as possible, because there's a lot of disinformation or misunderstanding about that the changes were made because of the restorative process method or things related to that. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that seems like that would not be a reason for removing someone from a position. So I would like, just request that you do that going forward. Also, I request that the new staff coming in really take a look at the elementary schools. There's a lot of talk around the middle school and the high school, but those behaviors that we're seeing in the middle school and the high school didn't exist, suddenly pop up as soon as those kids hit puberty or as soon as they stepped in those doors. They existed in the elementary schools before that. So there are a lot of kids, and we all know the best practice, and I know I've had a conversation with Don Owen at Tiger Talk that, you know, studies show the best time to help kids is when they're younger. You catch those learning disabilities or issues when they're younger and move that forward, but we're not doing that at all of our schools. My child's at Leal, and I feel like it's a little bubble. Once they get to the middle school, that bubble pops, and other schools are not having as much stability or less. There are a lot of other issues going on there. They're not getting the support that they need. So I really hope that the new administration coming in will be able to give that focus there. We're doing a lot of great work with restorative practices, and I hope that that goes forward and keeps getting implemented, because we all know it's not quite there yet, but it's getting better. So my hope is that that also possibly is applied at the elementary school, or really helping those elementary schools, because the problem didn't start, as I said, as it went through. So, and thank you again for your efforts and your hard work. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And up after him will be Candace Cobb.
My name is Rick Bernotis, 409 East Sherwin Drive in Urbana. I have 2 children attending school in the district. I am in full support of the announced changes in central office administration of Urbana School District 116. I'm in full support of efforts by the Board of Education, district staff, and the state's attorney to uncover and eliminate eavesdropping and any other criminal activity in the district. I'm in support of the Board of Education to fully investigate any and all instances where district hiring processes were not followed. I'm in absolute and full support of our teachers and the teachers' union. I support any effort by teachers and the union to stand up for their working conditions and the learning conditions for their students, up to and including an authorization to strike. The teachers of Urbana School District 116 have been under-resourced for far too long, and yet have been performing miracles every day, in spite of what have been truly unacceptable working conditions, as reported publicly in front of the board to district administration by many, many teachers for what is an unreasonably long time. There is no amount of time for which these working and learning conditions are acceptable. To the teachers and other staff who have come forward at Board of Education meetings for a very long time, I want to express my deepest gratitude for your willingness to speak out. You are the first and last line of defense for our children in our schools, and I am deeply sorry that as a community we have not taken more forceful action earlier in defense of you and our children. I hope that going forward, future superintendents and the Board of Education will work with you, the teachers, to design a budget and ballot referendum that will ask the community to support you with the resources that you really and truly need. My father was a school district superintendent for 17 years and ran many, many referendums. It felt like one took place every single voting day. Most of them failed. But it was always a truly democratic process by which district staff and the community were constantly aware of the needs of the district, were constantly involved in the district's planning process, and would eventually end with compromise and success. Everyone had a voice. I'm deeply familiar with the constant tension that the position of superintendent has with the district and in fact every corner of the community. It starts for you and your family literally the day that you put yourself in the public eye, and it doesn't ever end. For the administration, the board, or your families, not even long after your association with the district has stopped. Even knowing that, what has transpired here is not acceptable. I do not support the obvious lack of planning from central office administration. I do not support central administration citing prior year discipline statistics as an excuse for the current level of violence and disruption, as if this is the way things are supposed to be. I do not support the unwillingness of central administration to work with or listen to our elected Board of Education. I do not support the efforts by central office administration to undermine our elected Board of Education. I do not support the unwillingness of central administration to work with, listen to, or give a seat at the table to our teachers. I do support removal and replacement of central office administration as outlined by the Board of Education. Several board meetings ago, I listened to a special education teacher at the middle school describe what are abhorrent conditions for herself and her special education students due to direct lack of consequences and absence of discipline for those who are coming to our schools to commit truly horrible acts of disruption, violence, and bigotry. This coming months after the start of the school year. As a father of a disabled child in special education, this hit especially hard. What other evidence do we need that Don Owen has failed at his primary responsibilities to the district when the special education teacher feels her only recourse to protect herself and her students is to plead before the Board of Education? We don't need any other evidence, even though there was already a mountain of it.
Thank you. And after her will be Ryan Hughes.
Okay, my name is Candace Cobb. I'm coming to the board speaking as both a parent and an employee of Urbana Middle School. I want to first start by saying that anything that I say is my personal opinions. So there we go with that. What is the Urbana way? Is it telling a student, get out, go home, go anywhere but here? Is it spreading false rhetoric that the immigrants are coming? Is it excusing students that aren't following expectations because it's something they always do? These are things that I have and are experiencing in Urbana today. I have been an employee for 11 years. And the longer I am here, I am proud to work with the students and the staff. But this Urbana way, the Urbana way we keep speaking of, has not been all-encompassing for a long time. I sat this summer in equity trainings, and I was hopeful. But these statements above and my own personal feelings is that people think that getting rid of or replacing admin is what is needed. And I can speak as a special education teacher, consequences don't change behavior. That's the first thing we learn. Have we talked to all staff? Have we gotten true feelings? Many of us, and this is me speaking personally because I have friends, are afraid sometimes to voice what we see or what we truly feel students are experiencing on a daily basis. Why? Because we may experience backlash ourselves, and we work for this school district. So I close by saying consequences don't change behaviors.
Thank you. The next person up, and then Tina Hubre.
Thank you. My name is Ryan Hughes. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all tonight. As most of you all know, I was a member of the Champaign County Racial Justice Task Force, and I wanted to speak quickly about our experience on the task force. When we began investigating criminal justice and racial justice in Champaign County, we spoke with a lot of community members, with a lot of community leaders, with public groups and boards, such as yourselves. We spoke with local law enforcement agencies. We were asking, what do you think has brought us to where we are in terms of racial injustice in the county, and what can we do going forward to improve racial justice and racial equity? What we faced was a lot of deflection. One group would deflect to other groups. One city council would deflect to levels of government above them. Community members would sometimes deflect to the law enforcement agencies or say this is a problem we need to solve back at the county board, as we were trying to do. Law enforcement agencies would say this is a community problem. It needs to be solved at the community level. That's in our report. That's something that they had said. I think they were deflecting because this work is extremely hard. It's difficult, it's challenging, and it's very uncomfortable. But it must be done. It's critical. I think that's what we're seeing here. A few years back, Urbana School District decided we're going to work on racial equity. We're going to make that a priority. We're going to put that at the forefront of everything that we do so we can improve education for all of our students and all of our families. And that's been really difficult and challenging and uncomfortable, as I've said. But my question to you, the Board of Education, right now at this critical point in time is, what specific strategic action steps are you going to take, and are you going to hold our administration accountable for taking, that will help us achieve the goal of racial equity for all of our students? As I said, this is a critical opportunity. A few weeks ago, you passed a resolution saying that our district supports racial equity and that we support restorative justice and restorative practices. But now we have to prove that we're going to do that. What are the action steps that we're going to do? We can't just have words saying we support that. We've had those people speaking up saying we support that for a long time, but now we need action steps. So again, my question to the board this evening are, what specific actions will you begin taking at this critical moment in time to help us achieve racial equity in our school district? How will you deal with the blacklist and reprimand those who have helped make that happen? How will you build support around restorative practices at every level in our school district? Students, teachers, staff, and our community members. How will you ensure equitable academic success and disciplinary outcomes for our Black and brown students? How will you make sure that we are working towards racial equity in our district? What specific steps will you take at this moment in time? Thank you.
After Tina, there will be Amy and Dowd.
Hi, my name is Tina Hubry, and I just want to start off by reiterating something that somebody said earlier regarding the desire for open and transparent communication. And I would like to remind everybody, board, anybody listening, that when we talk about that kind of communication and transparency and accountability, I hope that we can continue to remember everybody involved in the growth and education of our students. I'm going to continue to make sure that we are looking at all situations, and regardless of the situation that is holding the microphone tonight, I'd like to make sure that some things don't get forgotten. And so I'd like to point out that the board has not formally denied the existence of a blacklist. And I'd like to say that I understand that you wouldn't call it a blacklist and that maybe it's not formally, but it does appear to be that there was a list of individuals whose credentials were legally investigated, and that those individuals are predominantly people of color. We have also not heard about any accountability for those individuals, either on the board or not on the board, who authored the lists that the audit looked at. We've also not received any information about the way in which the audit was approved on, in terms of how we, as a school district, we're going to pay for that and expend time and other resources. So I'd like to just ask where the board stands on that, and I'd like to know where the logistics lie, because at the stands right now, there is a list of predominantly staff of color whose credentials and certifications have been legally investigated. And as far as it stands right now, the public does not have any understanding as to why that happened and how that happened. I'd also like to take a moment to deeply thank our district leadership for their fearless actions to dismantle a system that's historically rooted in racism, regardless of how uncertain that journey was going to be. Regardless of what happens tonight moving forward, Urbana School District 116 is in the spotlight, and we are in the position to make real change within the larger educational system because of your vulnerability and your bravery. Thank you.
Thank you. And behind you will be Amy Fealty.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I'm lived here for 19 years. We've had 2 kids going through this system. One went from Leal to Urbana Middle School through Urbana High School, and the other Leal to Urbana Middle School, and now in Urbana High School. I'm speaking because I'm really concerned about this process. Clearly, discipline and staffing changes in Urbana are racially charged. Clearly, there has been a lot of misinformation and rumors swirling about all of those things. So what do we know? Well, we observe, and I'm glad I followed the person right before me, the board seems to have done 2 really inappropriate things. This is what I see. One is to commission a hiring review of a list of employees who are almost entirely people of color. And then the other is this, issuing a bizarre and shocking announcement of serious proposed personnel changes before a vote was taken and without full explanation to the people in question. Who does that? And so frankly, I think that those things alone cast a heavy pall of illegitimacy over any personnel changes this board might vote for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. After Amy, it'll be Sage Johnson.
Thank you. I came without a cane tonight. Thank you. I'm Amy Fealty. I also served on the Racial Justice Task Force with Ryan Hughes. And I forgot my glasses. I'm sorry. So I also have been hearing many things in the community from wider and wider circles about disturbing things and that are going on here. And I would like the board to address these things. 1, why is Urbana School Board supposedly investigating hiring practice of its own employees? Is it supposedly there's a question of qualifications about people that the board has hired and approved with its own office and staff? What is this supposed blacklist, an audit of positions that's mostly people of color with a little bit of white representation? Is this a usual practice in Urbana? What's going on? Secondly, the community is also talking more and more about violations of the Open Meeting Act of the state of Illinois by board members of this board. And there's a board member who apparently has been said that he didn't care about this. The Open Meeting Act. What is going on there? If this is true, that means that 3 or more board members have been met outside of a public meeting, have met together to discuss business of this board. If this is true, then these board members or other board members who know this has happened need to speak up and talk about this. Because if this is true, it is shocking and it undermines all trust in the community. I would also say if it's true, it reflects on a need that some people have to control what's going on and to prevent change that they don't agree with. If there is an honest discussion going on, trustworthiness of our elected officials has to be at the root of it. There has to be open discussion. The positions that the board holds are answerable to the community. And privately held positions are not an opportunity for people to do whatever they wish. The third thing I wish to say, and I hope the board will address, is why the restorative practice wasn't used for the administration and board's problems. If this board is sincere in its approach to using restorative justice in circles to help students and teachers in buildings, it must also see that this is something that has to permeate the district and take the place of the practices that have been going on in the district that have promoted racial inequities. This is another inequity. Ultimately, there is tremendous pressure growing on people who work in the district and who live in the community, who are seeing and hearing things going on that are counterproductive and that are against this board's spoken and official positions of dismantling racist structures. This pressure is growing, and that's why I'm speaking out tonight. I hope others will do the same, and it sounds like they have been doing so. People who are for the changes and working hard for them are feeling increasing pressure to be silent, to change sides, and to take up arms, it seems, against students, parents, and other staff members who are in favor of the changes. There are people within the district who are afraid to speak up now. People against the changes going on backbite, they attack supporters within the district privately, and they keep stirring the pot to make sure that people don't forget what they think is going on as wrong. They disparage the process of change. They roil the waters. They talk about bad student behavior in front of students and other staff members. And they seek to undermine, it seems, this change that we need in school climate and system. If these reports are true, the situation is getting worse and worse. There's no winning in such a situation. It's disgraceful and dishonest if that's happening. It removes the trust that this board needs to go forward. Members of this board must speak up if they have been part of such dishonest practices or if they have witnessed or heard about them. This is a legal issue, and it's unacceptable. There's no cover for it in our world. So I hope before you make any decisions that you will look at these 3 points and address them.
Thank you. Thank you. And next up after you will be Elizabeth Powers.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sage Johnson. I'm a student at your school. First, I'd like to hold a moment of silence for Samuel Brenda. Okay. So, in the past few months, there has been a resort to totalitarianism by members of your board. You have led a state-led persecution of Mr. Wyndham. You have, how do I say this?
Take your time.
Thank you. In history, those who are in power seek to keep their power. They tend to run when anything gets off, when something is not right, when something doesn't fit their image, their public relations, but in a different sense than it was spoken today. In the case of Mr. Wyndham, he came to to promote democracy. He came to promote openness. And he did this through his pen. Whatever. It's not a big deal. I wasn't there that night. Y'all were. You were there that night. So were you. Every one of you was there that night, I believe. And, you know, you made a choice. You made a choice that you didn't want openness in these meetings. From what I hear, you may have also held secret meetings. This is also an issue. But speaking in terms to what is in the paper, that someone, a snitch, here at the district called the state's attorney's office over allegations. Don't know if they have evidence, but you have allegations. You came down on Mr. Wyndham. Why? I don't know. That's for you. Also, from what I understand, how do I put this? Are you afraid that Mr. Owen's continuance of employment will make it so that you all, board members here, will not be able to continue your positions of power? Are you afraid? Mr. Owen is not your scapegoat. Mr. Wyndham is not your scapegoat. The third named person is not your scapegoat. You three are not scapegoats. You here have caused this problem. When you do not have oversight, you cause a problem. So, you can step up to what you have done. You can say that, okay, some of the ways that we carried out our restorative justice initiative or whatever led to anarchy that we think is bad. End of story. Anarchy isn't bad. Restorative justice is good. And if you all here want to make up on those terms, you are elected officials. If you don't remember this, you are. You can say to us right now, if you wish, you all have microphones, we are sorry. You can say this right now. You're welcome to. Okay? You can say, I held a meeting that I was not supposed to under the law. You can say this right now. We're not prosecutors. We're not going to hold you in jail, as you all's actions made it so that Mr. Wyndham is now. Okay? We're counting on you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Behind you will be Tory Exim.
Hello. I'll keep it short. I'm a parent. I have one child who went all the way through the school system here. He went to Yankee Ridge and then on to the middle school and high school. And I have a daughter who went through Thomas Paine and is currently an 8th grader at the middle school. The first thing I wanted to say is just to thank Dr. Owens for all his great work over these many years. I too gnashed my teeth over the 3 a.m. snow call. But I have found Dr. Owens a very compassionate person. I think it's been a privilege for the school district to have such a talented person spend their career with us. And I think that that's because Dr. Owens is a person of great integrity and compassion and does the right thing, does what he feels is right. And I'm afraid that the situation today reflects his great commitment to the restorative justice project And unfortunately, it seems that the board just, when things got tough, it's a very difficult project. These kind of changes are decades in the making. And when things got tough, it appears to the public that the board turned their backs and hung him out to dry to take all the heat for what's in the News Gazette about fighting and what people are saying at the movie theater, as someone mentioned. And basically the board would conveniently like to slough off all of the heat for this project onto Dr. Owen and his colleague instead of recommitting to the Restorative Justice Project. I would note, as several others have too, going forward, I think we're in a very difficult situation, and I'm curious to see also how will the board proceed on the restorative justice issue, and how will they find another superintendent who will move forward with this project, knowing that they don't have a solid base of support. Thank you.
Thank you. Following Tory will be Danielle Chanel.
Good evening. Sorry, I'm struggling with my throat, so I may drink water here. My name is Tory Exim. I've been an Urbana resident for most of my life, living the majority of that time in District 2. I have a child at Urbana Middle School, one at the high school, and my oldest graduated from Urbana in 2011. I've been an active parent for many years, even pulling my two youngest children out of private school because I had confidence in this school district that they could do what it takes to make sure that my kids were successful. With my oldest in the school district all along, I've seen the district in difficult times, and I've seen it when Urbana was considered the cream of the crop, the place in the state where teachers wanted to come and work. That time, believe it or not, was not that long ago. With each new year comes good and bad. Those are to be expected, and we will always have bumps in the road. It is the superintendent's responsibility to ensure that our administrators are in positions that are aligned with their greatest strengths so that the district can best serve our students and families, and best support our teachers and staff, who are undoubtedly one of the most important pieces in this puzzle, as they are the ones that are teaching our next generation. This person must also implement the school board's vision by making daily decisions pertaining to education, spending, staff, facilities, and so forth. I don't think I need to go through all that this hard position does. I personally have known Don Owen for over 30 years, several years before he even started in this school district as a history teacher. He has a very lovely family, his wife Meg, who I've talked to quite a bit at King's School, and his two great children. While we've never been friends, we have had several friends in common over the years, and I've considered Don to be a decent man in the past. I don't doubt that he cares about the kids, and maybe even he wanted to do a good job and leave a great legacy in this district as superintendent. We must, though, take a look at the whole picture realistically. My children, the children of the people behind me in the audience, and the other kids in the district deserve to have a safe learning environment, and their futures are far more important than whether or not a person is liked. I should make it clear that being a nice guy does not mean that you are the best person to serve and rule this district. Don, I've brushed shoulders with you all the time. We're in the community working to make it a better place. I don't doubt that you're out at 2 o'clock in the morning. I've seen you at the games because I'm there. But being a likable person doesn't mean that you're the best person for this position. I know people who have many magnificent visions, but they don't have what it takes to put the right people in the right places to fulfill that vision. Over the past couple of years, this district has been riddled with bad decision after bad decision that clearly shows a lack of effective leadership. Those bad decisions don't discount the vision and likability of you as a person. It simply says that your greatest strength is not in the role that you're currently in. To prove this, we really just need to look back at the last 2 years, starting with one of the worst decisions, in my opinion, with the demotion of Dr. Jennifer Ivory Tatum. Dr. Tatum was one that would certainly be in your ear, questioning your plans, keeping you on your toes, and looking out for the best interests of this entire district. You've taken credit for bringing restorative practices here. However, Dr. Jennifer Ivory Tatum brought that to this district, as we all know. Or maybe as some don't know, they'll find out tonight. She brought that to this district. Egos, I believe, is what got in the place of, and she was blindsided and told that she'd be demoted down 3 levels. I just feel like that decision was like throwing down your shield on the battlefield in the middle of a war. You had a gem in place and you eliminated that. And this district has been riddled with issues since then. Next came the rush of restorative practices to push it through. It had started and it was working. It took time. Circles was there. Nobody is saying that you just started restorative practice and threw it in. Restorative practice is a good thing when it's done right. I totally agree with restorative practices, but you gotta do it right. You gotta get the trainers in that are truly gonna train and have the buy-in that is required from your teachers and your staff. That was not done. Still, restorative practice was rolled out. Next came mass changes. Is that my time?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And behind you will be Sabe Manetti.
I wish I could have given 2 more minutes to the woman who was speaking before me because I wanted to hear what you had to say. Dear school board members, but also teachers, parents, students, and the public, I speak as a parent of a 7-year-old in our elementary schools, a leader of a local public aid office that serves the poorest of the poor in Urbana, and a feminist and anti-racist community organizer, which is to say I am no expert, and this is one voice. I'm here to urge the students, administration, teachers, staff, and parents to unite behind racial equity and restorative justice in Urbana schools, and to see this as central to, rather than opposed to, safety and well-being. This goes beyond general statements of support. I know that you have stated your support. I've looked over the tape where you discussed it, but I feel that we need a specific plan to continue this difficult and needed project during a major administrative change. Here's some input to that plan. We need a community-wide facilitated conversation about what it takes to bring racial equity and restorative justice to Urbana schools. Some of what Elizabeth spoke to in Champaign after 2 failed referendum, the kind of collaborative, facilitated discussion that can happen when we bring folks together and they can actually see each other's points of view in ways that they didn't see before. There are those who refuse to see the long-standing problem of racial inequity in the schools and their role in perpetuating these. This is only a piece of the problem, but there's no way around this fact, and it should be addressed in this plan. We need an approach that is collaborative, where students, parents, teachers, administrators are working together. I've heard a lot of stories of these entities undercutting each other. I've heard what I would say is a kind of hysteria from some parents, some of them my friends and neighbors, who are so concerned about the kind of out-of-control situation in the schools. And I understand that safety is so important, but I ask us to stay the course and see that we refuse to pit safety against civil and human rights. We understand that the route to safe schools is fair schools. We want an approach that is student-centered. A lot of the conversations, I did not hear the voices of students. So I went and talked to my friend Saba in the high school and said, tell me what it's like. And she will tell you what it's like. And it's a perspective I didn't hear from any other place. And I'm glad to hear from Sage, who at age 1 was crawling around my living room. And I'm so glad to hear their perspective and the fact that they can come here and speak their voice to you. So I'm very proud of that. I want a process that is self-reflexive and iterative, to understand that we continue to learn and that we must be personally transformed by this process. Every one of us, including the board members and the students, the teachers, the staff, that actually we live in a culture of white supremacy that oftentimes we can't see ourselves, and we don't see it until we're in discussion with each other, and we can understand why is that child. When I was in high school, I was a gay student who was primarily cornered by African American girls saying, what are you, some kind of lesbian, and constantly harassed. And I understood in conversation with other people of color, the people of color in my community, that essentially there was a lot of resentment that I, as a white student, was in this special elite program that had been airlifted into a mostly black high school, and that those black students were upset at me for reasons that are systemic and real, and that moment where they're trying to insult me was actually a learning opportunity for all of us. So I want us to look at the struggles that students are facing and see that there are root causes of poverty in our communities. There's 43 homeless children in Urbana High School alone. There's 650 homeless children in our county. And so to look and see, we as a community, and it's not just up to you, it's also up to us to wrap our arms around our students and our youth and to support them through this process and to listen and understand that there are deeper roots than what is just on the surface, and we must include people and not exclude them. And we must listen to them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And then it'll be Carrie Brown Tess.
Hi, everybody. I'm Saba. I'm 15 years old, and I'm a sophomore at Urbana High School. I went to Leal School for grade school, and when I came to UHS, I just finished 3 years at Campus Middle School for girls. I came to speak to you guys because I wanted to offer a perspective that you guys might not get the chance to hear a lot, a student perspective. When I first came to UHS as a freshman last year, the deans were supervising the hallways most of the time. This was new for me because I went to Campus Middle School for girls. It was a private school. But I quickly felt comfortable with them, especially because I saw my classmates and friends had wonderful relationships with them. The deans were always kind to me, and I quickly built strong relationships with them as well. Now we are told that we need to respect our teachers and SIs, but we can only start respecting them once we see them respecting us. That is what we had with the deans. We had respect. With the SIs, on the other hand, we haven't built relationships with them. They don't know us like the deans did. They also don't treat us with the same respect that the deans offered. They are not our friends, and they are definitely not friendly. They confront us with the assumption that we are doing something wrong, which makes us assume that they are coming from a place of prejudice and hate instead of trying to help and support us. The majority of the school body thinks of the SIs as a joke, but this also comes with the popular idea that all of the changes being made are negative. Also, I want to talk about the restorative practice being implemented at UHS. I don't really have a lot of experience with it, and I don't have a lot of experience with the restorative circles, but I believe that it has a possibility of working, but it will also take a long time to work. We need to be patient, and we need to let the students get used to the new changes and understand how to make use of them. We also need well-trained people leading the restorative circles, and we need familiar faces that we can feel comfortable with. The built trust right now is not there, and the rug has been pulled out from under our feet. That is all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And after that, it'll be Sherry Williamson.
I want to thank Saba and Sage for speaking, and I know that I think it would be more important as we talk about moving forward that we include those voices more and more. I think it's been said in previous school board meetings, the idea of bringing a student cohort into this, and I think that that would be a good move. Maybe that would be the first thing, action item. Okay, so wow, a lot of things are being said, have been said, and a lot of good stuff. And you know what's really beautiful about this time is there's been so many people from the community coming forward and talking, and I appreciate this. I think this is actually the first step. I also want to talk about some misinformation that's out there, and people have been talking about transparency, and I want to make sure that I want to highlight again some of the great things that have happened. Again, somebody did mention this, that the restorative practices were not implemented, thank you, Brenda, last spring, that this has been a 3 to 4 year process. And so I want to say the rhetoric on the street is this was sprung on this, and I want to say that that is not true. I know you all know that, I'm saying it's not, but that's not the way people are talking about it. I also want to say in the conversations, when I heard the announcement on Friday, I was heartbroken, and I've said this in other places. I feel that as a community, we should have been privy to the fact that this was even up for discussion. Talking to teacher friends, I've heard that this is a part of the plan. In fact, people have been talking about this for a while. So I don't know how that all plays out, but I, as a community member, was shocked, and I feel a little bit hurt by our board in this decision. And so that being said, I've been seeking out teachers and asking them to tell me what their stories are, and I'm not shocked entirely, but I do want to say that some of the responses are very interesting, and as people move forward, I would like for our board to make sure that they're seeking out the voices of their teachers, not just the loud ones, the ones who keep pushing an agenda, because I think there's a lot of teachers, when I asked them how things went, they said they wanted to meet with me personally because they were afraid. And I think that that is horrible. I think if we're going to have a school that's open and safe and supportive of our students, I think we should not have teachers who are afraid. In the course of this, I've heard, and then I've put this out, and as we're talking about moving forward for racial equity, I want to say that part of that will be our staff climate, and I think that that will mean that we have a high bar for our staff. I'm not saying that I don't think teachers are amazing. I love our teachers, and I 100% support the union, but I want it to be clear that the union is divided too. Again, we need to hear all voices, and a lot of the people who are not being heard, I don't know if you need to seek them out or you need to personally come to them and provide a safe space, or maybe even hire a third party, because I don't know that, given some of the stories, that they trust the school board. And so seeking out those opinions and making sure that everyone is being heard. I do also want to talk about whiteness. I grew up in Midwestern in Missouri, in a very rural town, a farming community. I grew up in a racist family, and I still have racism in me, okay? If you're white, you have racism in you. And this doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It's what you do from this point forward. And I just want to encourage us as a district that it is important for our staff to be healing from racism. There's this great, the last chapter in the book, Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in a Cafeteria? It talks about racism harms everyone, that black folk are harmed, brown folk and white folk were all harmed. The difference is a lot of black families, a lot of brown families, they talk about it at the table. They have to talk with their children. You have to be careful because a police officer might shoot you if you don't keep your hands up. We don't have to have these conversations as white folk. And so when all of a sudden we're talking about race, it's hard for us. And understanding that, like, that is how we have to come into a predominantly white teaching force. Most of our teachers are white. And so I just want to encourage, like, total holistic care for our teachers in this move forward as well. Thank you.
My name is Sherry Williamson. I am a student engagement advocate at Urbana High School. I kind of want to start up to say that I took this position because I knew of Don's work previous to this. I've worked and volunteered at CASA. I've been a child welfare worker. I've worked in the mental health system. I've been the PTA council leader for Unit 4. I have a 7th grade daughter there, so I'm involved in what goes on at Unit 4 as well. I also studied restorative justice during grad school, as well as being a therapist. So there's a lot of different perspectives that I came to Urbana High School with. I think there's a misconception that it's feast or famine. We either have punitive measurements or we have nothing at all. As an SEA, I know that I do interventions on a regular basis. Our principal is here, and I want to tell her thank you, for allowing those of us who do these interventions to have that latitude to see what works with our students. I can tell you that after running groups and hearing students, we may be missing the point for what needs to happen here. We need to have mental health prioritized. We need to have trauma-informed care prioritized, and that cannot be as a response or an answer when the public is having an outcry that things are not working. This needs to be deliberate action to support those who are in the high school. I've heard from students who are bringing trauma into the school that started years ago. So to think that this restorative process is going to address all of that, it's not going to undo what took years to form. So when we're talking about trauma and mental health, I would want to see the board prioritize that. I would like to see funding allocated to support the interventions that we do, because as somebody mentioned, we are not going to be able to address trauma by punishing anybody. It's something that I hear the students say, that they feel discarded if they are not addressed in a certain manner, which I believe our student was kind of indicating that. So I feel like with this change, being transparent, just from the student level, the students wanted to know why somebody they've come to trust is being removed. So when we talk about that transparency, they don't even understand what's happening to them in their building, in their district. There needs to be transparency, and they need to be a part of the conversation. I would like to say that I think it was a good idea to have restorative justice, but to allow those of us who are doing interventions to continue to do our interventions to support this. Because as a therapist, I would never tell a parent, I will fix your child in 3 months. You know, I would never tell somebody, okay, we've been through the semester, your child should be fine. We have to do this deliberately every single day. We need to bring in outside resources to address this, because there are people in our community who have experience with dealing with students who have been subject to gun violence and things like that. They need to be brought in because they provide a perspective that even as a therapist, I'll never be able to provide. I also want to say that as a student engagement advocate, I'm not just here to support the students, I'm also here to support the teachers as well as the families. That's a priority. And again, I appreciate the administration in our building allowing us the latitude to explore what those different options are. But I can't continue to express, we have to prioritize trauma-informed care. We have to prioritize mental health, because that's the root of what we're seeing in our hallways. That's the root of what we're seeing in our classrooms. We can't expect our teachers to be clinical professionals like the rest of us. So we have to be able to work in conjunction with what they're doing, with what you're doing, but that also is based on transparency. So when people have said we need to see an action plan from this, I would like to see included in that, like I said, trauma-informed care and mental health. I can't really impress that upon everybody enough after running groups and having individual sessions with these students, that that's what they need. They need that support that they haven't historically gotten in other places in the community or even in their own homes. So to be able to provide that, we have to have consistency. I understand if there needs to be a change in administration. I don't personally support that, but I feel like we need to have something from this point on that's rock solid, that is deliberate, that is aggressive, because we are seeing aggressive things happen in our own society. And if we're going to have a response to that, we need to be equally aggressive by having outside supports in the school, as well as better training for those of us who are in the school.
Thank you. So our last two people are Reverend, huh? Oh, we got another one. All right. Well, last three, I'll start off. We'll have Reverend Courtney Crothers. You can come up. And then Janaea Bivens. And behind Jaya Bivens, we'll have Mick Wolf. And then Teresa, is it Sweeney? Sweeney. Okay.
My glasses are dirty, so I can't see that.
5 minutes is
All right,
red.
thank you. All right.
Yellow is 4 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to the board. I've been in Urbana for 2 years. I have immediately got involved in a lot of disparities and violent actions within our community. What I'm hearing, and I just want to point this out, I respect the young man who talked about his child that has a problem. Our problem could be defined as racism, but as a black father, a religious leader, a spiritual-minded person with God ethics. God never created us to look at racism. He has given us a value system. When I look at the young men and young ladies who walk the street on Romine, Dublin, and the cross sections in and out of school during the summer, thank you, during the summers and spring and winter, they're lost. A lot of them are coming from broken homes. They have incarcerated fathers. They go to our schools. I didn't have to grow up in that. I grew up in Long Beach, California, where they did not use guns, but they used their fists in riots. As a black kid growing up in Irvine, California, from 1st grade to 6th grade, I was called a nigger. I was punched and spit on. Moved to Long Beach, all black predominant area. I was told I talk white. It's not a racist. It's value. Teachers have to learn value, personal environment values, organization values, group values. When I speak to young people in conferences, I take one illustration. I take a trash can, because this is the example I received when I was at Subway one year. After eating my meal with my friend, my keys were on my tray. Put my key on the tray, paying no attention, dumped everything in the trash can. I had to go into that trash can with chewed sandwiches, dirty napkins, mayonnaise, mustard, and everything, because there was something valuable in that trash can. That was my key. Those were my keys to my car. I could have just left it there and said, they're dirty, no good. But I went in there, wrapped my hand up in a white napkin, and got my keys out. In support of whatever, I'm just in support of value. Whoever brings value from the stem and the root of teachers, you're going to be going to the trash cans of a lot of people's lives that they did not put their own selves in, but it's an integrity thing. It's a law system. Teachers have to be trained not only how to study and teach children, but they have to teach ethics. Who's going to take the napkin to go into the trash can and say out you're worthy? You are the key to our future. We could put them in Reddings. We could put them out of school, but it disvalues them when they get out. I see children walking around with their head down. Girls getting pregnant because they want to know if they're loved. I have been into a lot of meetings since I've been here in 2 years, away from my family, going to gun violence, social issues, city council meetings, not because I want prestige. I'm a religious leader. I'm a spiritual person. We got to put value back into our children, and all this racism we're hearing is not going to go away until we learn value. So when I got the keys out of there, I wiped them off. In closing, we usually give 2 closing when we're preaching, but 1 closing. Barnum Bailey had a favorite show in the act. It was called Hocus Pocus. Now you see it, now you don't. We see children coming to school, they get in trouble. But love, as the Bible says, covers a multitude of sins. Now, one of us can sit here and judge these children individually because they're not in control of their environment. But we're teaching them how to have a better, distinct characteristics. So whatever your decisions are, who's going to go into our communities as a teacher and say, I believe in them. I believe in you as a parent. That's my concern. Last closing. We have some gentlemen here. I'm not going to expose who they are, but they're working hard with these children. Programs have been in place in our society that I've been reading and studying about. I've seen one, if we want to talk about racism or color, not racism, but color, seen one white person come into our community to show support. We can go further in helping our children. We have a better system of environmental scan, relationship evaluations, psychological treatment, and we need to consider that. So if you take what's in there that's in place and try to renew the situation with someone else, you're going to take yourself further. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm going to try to be brief because I actually did not intend on speaking tonight. But I'm honored to follow Reverend here because I'm very obedient to my spirit, and so that's why I am here. First off, I'm coming to you. My name is Janelle Bevins, and I'm coming to you not only as a staff member, as a parent. I have a daughter who is in 8th grade at Urbana Middle School. I'm a parent first. Okay, love my job, but I'm a parent first. So I have two perspectives coming into the schools and looking at the lenses in which my colleagues are looking at, as well as the community. So I understand both sides. We have to look at, and first of all, I want to say thank you to Dr. Owen for even giving me the opportunity to be in a district where the focus is on people that look like me, the population of youth that look like me. The focus, I have never seen the focus so strong and trying to find ways to help our children. This is a systematic problem that we have. And teaching others about what that systematic oppression is, it is not to insult people of other races. It's to teach what the young lady has said, that we have to teach our children around the table on a regular basis. Walk with your head up. Don't wear that hoodie. They might think you have a gun. Don't do this. Don't say that. Don't act like that. These are conversations that others need to understand. It's not to be insulting. It is not to say that any other race is any less important. But we have a population of students that we have to work with from day to day. And if it wasn't for restorative practices in these schools, my daughter, we moved from Chicago 3 months ago. She didn't even want to be here, to be honest, okay? But the help that the SEAs in 8th grade have given her has changed my daughter. The school has changed my daughter to open up because she's going to school with people who look like her. The school she was at before, there was not that many African Americans at the school. My daughter's a cheerleader. Like, I would have never thought that she would try it out for cheerleading. She's singing. She has a beautiful voice. She's in a choir. She's in the honors choir. My daughter is on the honor roll, you know, the high honors. These are things my daughter could have never experienced if I was not given the opportunity to come here and to be in this environment. According to the trans-theoretical model of change, we are not understanding what change is. Unfortunately, we are going back and forth between contemplation, preparation, and action. And that's okay. But what people have to understand is with change comes pain, comes hurt, comes learning, and then comes modeling. Because the problem that we're having is, no disrespect, but as a board, as central office, as staff, we are not modeling appropriate behavior for our students. And that's why I was hired to come here, because from a mental health perspective, we are damaging our children. I come to help students, and it's hard to help when we have staff assisting in the trauma and triggering the trauma that our students have endured, not just personally, but familially, culturally. And this is what people are not understanding. We have too many kids in one place. They have traumas they go through in elementary school, and they're put in one building and reintroduced to trauma. From getting away from the bully from this school, they can go to a different school, but then they come into the middle school and the high school, and they're reintroduced to trauma. Everybody can keep pointing fingers and do all this and everything that you all can do what you do. I came here to do a job, as my colleagues I came here to do a job, and I respect every single colleague, whether they want me here or not. I respect them all, because the ones who don't want me here are the ones that I learned from, and have to be better and be more resilient in doing what I'm doing, because I'm not letting them stop me from helping my babies in this school. Because my daughter is one. From this point forward, Dr. Owen, you will be missed. My heart is broken. I'm almost in tears, but my heart is broken because I appreciate the seed that you have placed. As Martin Luther King has said, a legacy for us to follow. You have planted a seed in this district that will never be forgotten. And it's our job to continue to build, love, respect ourselves first, so we can respect our children. I hear it. Respect our children so that we can move forward. Let's stop pointing fingers, stop screaming blah, blah, blah. Everybody, because I'm doing my doggone job in this school. I don't care what no community person say, no disrespect. I'm doing my job on a daily basis. Ain't nobody there with us doing this job every day. We know what we're doing. That's why I don't pay attention to that stuff, because I know the truth. From this point on, let's work on freaking solutions and stop pointing fingers and firing people and doing all this other stuff. Let's figure out what are we going to do to help our students, because our students are the ones who are suffering with our adult ignorance. Drop the mic. Thank you.
So is there anyone else? Teresa. Sweeney. Yeah, that's what I thought. Huh?
My cough dropped too because of my cough.
Matt Wood.
My name is Teresa Sweeney, and I'm going to finish sharing the words of Tory Exim. So I'm starting from where she left off. The decision to remove Dr. Jennifer Ivory Tatum was a gross mistake that the district has been reaping ever since. Next came the rush of restorative practices. I don't disagree with the vision of restorative practices. It's a good thing when it's done right. We all know that restorative practices is not new to the district. In fact, 2 of my Girl Scouts sat before this board a year and a half ago and asked Don why he didn't practice what he preached, referring to the lack of mediation through a circle with Jennifer Ivory Tatum prior to the initial decision to demote her. Their question prompted him to ask for one, and 2 11-year-olds told you what you should have done in the beginning. Still, restorative practices was not rolled out the way that it should have been. It is a process that takes time to buy in from the teachers and staff, from the janitor to the administration. Everyone has to understand and embrace. Instead of getting the appropriate trainers into the district and rolling it out the right way, there was some extreme rush, rush, and bits and pieces were forced onto the staff without enough real time to train and even allow the staff to buy in. He, in essence, gave this good program a bad name. The fact that Don was still just 2 months ago saying that the district was ready the whole way for this move clearly shows a lack of discernment to fully realize what is going on here. I keep hearing the numbers don't lie, but when you classify what has always been considered a fight as something completely different, of course the numbers are lower. Let's be honest. Let's be honest and transparent in saying that for a great deal of time, the middle and high schools didn't go without a fight, sometimes as many as 5 a day. My son, who's never even had a discipline referral, has become so immune to these fights that he's learned how to move his food and continue eating while the fights are happening in the lunchroom. It's become a normal part of his daily routine to try to map out an alternative route to class in his head so he can get to class on time should a fight break out in front of him. Next came the decision that mass changes need to be made all at once with the elimination of the dean positions, with no collaboration, transparency, or even discussion with the very people who work and teach and have children in the district. Did anybody ever stop to think about all the other things that deans do besides dishing out punitive measures to students? Now you have a bunch of uncertified staff in positions where students don't even respect them. And it's not their fault. I'm sure they're great people who want to do well, but they have been put in a bad position. I am in the school all of the time, and I'm saddened that most of what I hear from teachers and staff is I've never seen it this bad before. As if these issues were not enough, what I expected followed the mass exodus of teachers and staff, including a bunch of highly qualified people. Don was not at all transparent and honest about the fact that there was an extreme number of resignations and even some retirements related to these rushed decisions being made. I sat and listened as he tried to reassure a crowd of parents that the school district was going through normal attrition when that was not at all true. The district is hit with the loss of somewhere around 500 teachers and staff in an 18-month period, and that's unheard of. I can't remember a time when Urbana teachers and staff wanted to flock to other school districts in this area for a comparable and even sometimes lower level position. The district has reaped enough behind the decisions made by Don Owen going back to the decision regarding Jennifer Ivory Tatum, and I fully support the board decision to finally step in and bring back the dream team, administrators, and now we must all pray that they can turn around the destruction and bad reputation that this board, its administration, and our district as a whole has had to face for the past 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And then we'll have Mick Wolf, and behind him, Linda Minor. And then I want Tory to come back up for 1 second, too. Tory, so you'll be the last one.
This is the one, okay. Okay. My name is Mick Wolf. I'm a father of a former Urbana School District student, substitute teacher, and a concerned community member. And I am sorry to see how this has all come about. And I think trying to figure out where we're going, it's important to see where we are. Did I cut this off here? I don't know. Where we've been and how we got here. A brief assessment from the sidelines is that as enthusiastic as central office was in envisioning a new system of addressing so many important concerns on behalf of the students in need, and there are many, that the sense of urgency, the sense of believing that this was absolutely the right thing to do, ended up overshadowing a number of the legitimate concerns and created a very unfortunate process that concerns that have, in fact, have been borne out. It was as if so many voices from the teachers to staff to students, parents, and even some experts with this sort of thing to board members, effectively anyone who had asked to slow it down, transition in, take it a step at a time, were given the message that they were wrong, they didn't understand, they were not getting with the program, or perhaps were somehow outright racist. I'm not saying that was the intent. I'm saying that effectively became the narrative. Can all the problems experienced this last semester solely be attributed to these changes? That would not be accurate at all, but neither is it the case of the suspension of clear consequences, the exodus of committed staff, administrators, teachers, the lack of continuity with relationships with the students, the dissolution of the deans, the idea of building it as we fly, lack of listening. It's not a wonder that things are where they are, but for many reasons. We all know boundaries are tested. That's what many of the students are involved in right now, particularly with all the problems associated with hanging out in hallways, being disrespectful to teachers and staff, the learning environment of others, and the realities that teachers do not feel they're being backed up. But this whole process didn't have to happen this way. There could have been more wisdom applied to transitioning some concepts, services, and approaches in. Could have been more listening to those on the front lines, such as the teachers. Why is it that the common experience that most workers have is that the views from the front lines are rarely ever taken into consideration, as those in the supervisory positions tend to take the view that either they're the ones who know only or that they know best in each and every circumstance. There could have been a single action by the school board in one single moment amidst their shared concerns that everyone was going too fast last spring. The board could have said, stop, we need to hit pause. We're not dissolving the positions of the deans at this time. We'll perhaps hire some additional staff, ask the deans to incorporate some of the transitional concepts and approaches. We can get more feedback from the teachers, students, and the community at large. But you're asking us to suspend good judgment and belief. The teachers asked for that. Many parents did. Students spoke up. People in the community did as well. And so did people who've actually worked with districts on these issues. Once the deans were gone, strictly from a mechanical perspective, the district had to figure something out, and so they went with the proposed direction from central office. Additionally, I'd ask why students are never asked what they think about practices, procedures, and policies that govern at the school. We'd be surprised if we'd listen to more of what they have to say. They're more tuned in than people might think, more pragmatic, can come up with some suggestions that might be worth hearing, and at the very least, they know what doesn't work. Why are they not included in coming up with solutions that affect their lives, particularly after all that's transpired? If you want buy-in, you need to sell the idea. You need to listen to the feedback. You need to make the appropriate adjustments for all involved. Are the parents, teachers, students, and board members clear on what the actual consequences are for a number of these issues that are going on? People are feeling very disrespected. You know, you're talking about the fights, the violence, et cetera, using inappropriate language, acting out in the classes. They're difficult issues, but how will the board begin to show the teachers that you hear their concerns? How do you show parents they're being heard? How do you show students who want to learn and not being held hostage with the uncertainty in response to the acting out, which is in response to so many great needs historically? With so many socioeconomic, cultural, and institutionalized inequities, so many family stability issues, food insecurity, and unmet psychological needs. The students having issues must be embraced. They must be attended to. They must be given the opportunity to have their issues and concerns addressed. But when this cannot happen in the classroom without sacrificing the learning environment of their fellow students, when this cannot be done without sacrificing a productive and strong working teaching environment, when this cannot be done without having enough staff to monitor and reach out to those students on the edge in the hallways just out of reach, what's the answer? Whether you're dealing with a willful 2-year-old, middle schoolers, high schools, adults of any age, if there's not a willingness to engage, to cooperate, a lack of mutually defined objectives, how can anyone succeed in all of this? A teacher can teach, but a student has to be willing to learn. So many changes going on. Sorry to see with Dr. Owens, Dr. Wyndham, who made some unfortunate decisions, board of directors who have obviously been going through a lot here, the teachers, unfortunately, who have left, Matt Stark, Mr. Woods, the new staff, administrators coming in who have a lot of a no-win situation and a big hill to climb and trying to figure this out. You know, it's a very difficult situation. Let me just conclude here that if some of the students need to find some alternatives and go to Ready, the alternative school, perhaps see about that. If there are others in classrooms that can learn other skills in, so that classrooms, hallways, and learning environments are not disrupted or held hostage, then create those and meet their needs. Let's look and see how other communities have dealt with these issues, start holding serious study sessions on those with a commitment to truly including the teachers, students, parents, staff, and administrators at the table in a non-hierarchical but productive way. Let the best of those proposals move forward.
Hi, my name, is it on? My name is Linda Miner, and it's been a very confusing time with many intersecting issues. I'd like to thank the board members who have spent countless hours talking to parents, teachers, in and outside of your district to get different perspectives on issues that are going on in our district that affect all stakeholders, even those without children attending school in our district. Let's keep those conversations going. Let's keep that listening going. I think it was, her first name was Elizabeth, mentioned that we need to make an effort to reach out to those populations that have been missed. So let's keep those conversations going. I thank Carrie for reminding me that just because we may have racism in us doesn't make us bad people. I'm truly trying to grow and understand, and I know the board is trying to do that as well. I've reached out and have suggested this to you. Just because I'm trying to be a good person and I'm trying to make, understand and do my own self-reflection. Recently, our board passed a resolution to restore practices in racial justice, and I'd like a statement from the board to clarify, if, without detail, but just at least clarify that if the move in administration is at all related to racial restorative practices. We heard the Reverend speak tonight about integrity, ethics, and value. If our current administration has been acting, has not been acting with integrity, ethics, value, then I fully support a change in our administration. I realize that there are things, just like protecting students and employees in the district, I thank you for maintaining confidentiality and the protection of their privacy. And I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. Take your time.
I know we don't know the whole story. I'm assuming I don't. And it's a very challenging position. And I know, just like Carrie said, just because we have some racism in us doesn't make us a bad person. Just because we make poor decisions doesn't make us bad people. And I know you have faith. You appointed our current superintendent 18 months prior to the prior superintendent leaving. So I know you are a group of people that have faith. I just think that there have been mistakes in our administration. I went to a facilities meeting 2 weeks ago where Studio GC presented plans for a campus land use study. Do you know how many people in the community, parents, attended that? 3. There were only 3 people. Myself, who I did not get a notification that that was going on. I only heard from a high school parent, and it occurred on a Monday night. The high school parent received an email on Sunday. The 3rd person that attended was a community member who only heard it from somebody else. Didn't even have kids in the school, just lives in the neighborhood. So I've heard many non-apologies over the last several months, but the miscommunication, the lack of communication that's still going on. So again, I will say, if our administration has not been acting with integrity, ethics, and value, I fully support the change of administration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to apologize because on one of the golden sheets, I didn't read everything that Tory Exim had put on here. So, Tory, did you want to come back up? And I apologize personally. I have no problems about apologizing. So, I didn't read. I just read the names. I'm sorry.
Hello again. As current Lieutenant Governor of the Illinois Optimist District Zone 5 and immediate past president of the local Champaign-Urbana Optimist Club, I'm here tonight to present a check to Urbana Middle School. The Champaign-Urbana Optimist Club is dedicated to bringing out the best in youth, our community, and ourselves. Each year we fundraise with projects such as our current Christmas tree sales going on at Country Fair Plaza near This Is It Furniture. These funds allow us to give money to youth in the community. The Champaign-Urbana Optimist Club wants to highlight youth who are doing positive things at Urbana Middle School and allow them to receive the acknowledgement and encouragement that they deserve. We hope that these children will be highlighted in the community, in the news, in the newspaper. Tonight, we're presenting a check in the amount of $2,000 to help honor and celebrate children in all 3 grades on all teams each and every month. This is a practice that we've actually had for at least the past 10 years. We also ask this year, Joe, that if you have additional funding left, as you did last year, that you also think about honoring the teachers who work tirelessly to teach the youth at Urbana Middle School. So if you'd come up, present you with this check.
Thank you, Tory. And the board thanks the Urbana Optimists. So seeing there are no more goldenrod sheets, if anybody has one, you better run it on up here because we're moving on. There will be no call for executive session after tonight's meeting, but I neglected to thank the people running our cameras, the 2 young people. So I want to thank Austin Crone and Molly Sweeney. We appreciate you. And Molly, are you a student at the high school? Both of you? Okay. And he works for UPT. What year are you this year? Okay. Thank you so much for coming out and doing this for us. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Administrative briefing and report. Are there any administrative briefings or reports?
Not tonight.
Okay, thank you, Don. Action items, consent. The following sections will be voted on individually. Approval will be requested for the administrative absences. Is there a motion on the floor?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion. Can we check and make sure John now is hearing
Yes.
us again?
John?
Working again, I'm here.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Working again.
Thank you. Yes, Benita, I would like to make a motion, and I move to approve placing Dr. Don Owen on a paid administrative absence effective immediately.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Is there any discussions? No one wants to say anything?
This is going to require a roll call as long as you're ready for that.
Okay. Ruth Ann, you want to do a roll call, please?
Member Carter?
Yes.
Member Hall?
Yes.
Member Patton?
Yes.
Member Pulaski?
Yes.
Member Fisher votes no. Vice President Rollins Gay?
No.
And President Demmett?
Yes.
Okay, now we will, move on to the second.
Recall board member.
Temporary appointment of. Okay, there's another motion. I need another motion on the floor.
Yes. May I speak?
Yes.
I would like to move to approve placing Kathy Barber on a paid administrative absence, effective immediately.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Ruth Ann, roll call.
Member Carter?
Yes.
Member Hall?
Yes.
Member Patton?
Yes.
Member Pulaski?
Yes.
Member Fisher votes yes. Vice President Rollins Gay?
Yes.
And President Demmett.
Yes.
Okay. 8.3, temporary appointment of interim assistant superintendent for curriculum. Is there a motion on the floor?
Oh, did you skip over one?
No, I'm on
8.2?
8.2.
Sorry.
We did 8.2. That was Kathy Barber.
Well, they were both 8.1. Kathy and Don were both 8.1. Yeah, there was two under 8.1.
Where is there two? We don't have two on this. Okay. Yeah, okay. Temporary appointment of interim superintendent and approval of interim superintendent agreement. Is there a motion on the floor?
Yes, I would like to move to temporarily appoint Dr. Preston Williams, Jr. as interim superintendent effective immediately and to approve his contract for the same.
Do we have a second?
How long?
Do we have a second one?
How much? How many dollars?
Any discussion?
How many dollars?
Any discussion? So Ruth Ann, roll call, please.
Member Carter?
Yes.
Member Hall?
Yes.
Member Patton?
Yes.
Member Pulaski?
Yes.
How many dollars?
Member Fisher votes yes. Vice President
Yes.
Rollins Gay and President Demmett.
Okay.
Did John?
John? I didn't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay. 8.3, temporary appointment of interim assistant superintendent. Oh, we need to put Gail in.
I would like to speak.
Okay, John, I'll let you speak.
Yeah, I would move to temporarily appoint Gene Corder as interim superintendent of curriculum and instruction, effective immediately, and to approve her contract for same.
Who is she, Mr. Demmett?
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Ruth Ann, roll call.
Member Carter?
Yes.
Member Hall?
Yes.
Member Patton?
Yes.
Member Pulaski?
Yes.
Member Fisher votes yes. Vice President Rollins Gay?
Yes.
And President Demmett.
Yes.
8.4, temporary appointment of interim assistant superintendent for human resources and professional development and approval of interim assistant superintendent agreement. Is there a motion on the floor?
Yes, I move to temporarily appoint Gail Jeffries as interim superintendent of human resources and professional development, effective immediately, and to approve her contract for the same.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
How have you chosen these numbers? Have you met in secret session?
Ruth Ann, roll call.
Member Carter?
Yes.
Member Hall?
Yes.
Member Patton?
Yes.
Member Pulaski?
Yes.
Member Fisher votes yes. Vice President Rollins Gay?
Yes.
And President Demmett.
Yes.
8.5, resolution providing the issue of $3,072 taxable general obligation, limited tax school bonds, Series 20 19 of School District Number 116, Champaign County, Illinois, for the purpose of increasing the working cash fund of said school district, providing for the levy of a direct annual tax to pay the principal and the interest on the said bonds, authorizing the sale of the said bonds to Busey Bank. So at this time, I need the approval of the resolution providing of this issue from the board and the general obligation limited tax school bond series 2019 of the school district number 116, Champaign County, Illinois, for the purpose of increasing the working cash fund of said school district, providing for the levy of a direct annual tax to pay the principal and the interest on the said bonds, and authorizing for the sale of said bonds to Busey Bank, Champaign, Illinois. This is being requested, so I need a motion put on the floor.
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Ruth Ann, I need a roll call since this is concerning money.
Member Carter?
Yes.
Member Hall?
Yes.
Member Patton?
Yes.
Member Pulaski?
Yes.
Member Fisher votes yes. Vice President Rollins Gay?
Yes.
And President Demmett?
Yes.
So I just want to apologize for the long meeting to the school base, to Promise Healthcare, and Francis Nelson. So I'm thankful that you all stayed and are ready to present. At this time, I would like to call Nancy Greenwald and Alicia Eckhoff to give their presentation on the school-based health center. And Lori, would you help them in case they need any help making sure they have the mics and everything set up there? The school-based health center is ran by their agency for early childhood all the way up to high school seniors. So I'll let them talk about it.
Hi, thank you for including us tonight.
And do you all have mics?
Yeah, I think we have two we're
Okay.
going to share. I also have
Okay.
Jenny Dowd. She's a full-time provider, a pediatric nurse practitioner at the health center.
And talking to the mic
Okay.
so that the listening audience can hear you.
So I'm Nancy Greenwald. I'm the Executive Director of Promise Healthcare. We operate Francis Nelson and the Smile Healthy Dental programs, and as of July 1, began operating the primary medical and behavioral health services at the Urbana School Health Center. And we'd asked for this opportunity a couple months ago to share an update on how operations have been going for Promise, and then Alicia will share on how the dental program's going for the Champaign-Urbana Public Health District. So it's quite a collaboration that involves the school district, Promise Healthcare, and the Champaign-Urbana Public Health District. So Promise began operating the school health center in July of 18, and we're able to keep Jenny Dobb on as the provider there, and then Dr. Corinne Kohler is there on two Thursday afternoons a month to expand some of the access. We were able Caitlin Cornell, she's a pediatric LCSW, and she started in about August 1st. And did y'all get the handout from me with the flyer?
Yes. Yeah. This
So,
one?
yeah. So that would be, it would be great if you could share that flyer and let people know about the school health center. Okay. Some of the things that I think make it special. Well, you have a list on the spreadsheet that provides you with the report. Is some of the services offer is Jenny can provide school physicals, sports physicals. She's very open to helping kids who have acute medical needs that same day. We have same-day access. We are hoping after the first of the year, we'll be having our flu vaccines in, and we'll be calling kids in for asthma management. The school health center can help kids with reproductive health, health education. Promise Healthcare can help enroll children and families for medical coverage, mostly like Medicaid. We can assist families with medication assistance. Caitlin is there for mental health counseling. We've recently brought food into the clinic, and so we have, Jenny can provide, sometimes they have granola bars or fruit out that day, and we can also help the child go home with food to take home. And we'll be adding vaccines to the clinic after the first of the year. And if you ask questions, Jenny can tell you much more about what we do. It's so the part that Promise operates makes it part of the same care that's offered at Francis Nelson. So we now share an electronic medical record. So that while we haven't had vaccines this fall, Jenny's been able to provide the care, order vaccines, and the families can stop by anytime at Francis Nelson to get them, and that's worked pretty smoothly. But we look forward to having the vaccines there as well. So it's been able to be, I think, a better medical home for the kids and the families in the community. As a community health center, we will see patients regardless of their ability to pay. So a child can be uninsured and get care at the school health center. They can be on Medicaid, Line Care, Molina, Meridian. We take commercial insurance, but I want to make sure people understand that the ability to pay should not be a barrier to care for the kids. Another thing that I wanted to share with you tonight, because it makes it, we are certified as a community health, or as a school health center. It was prior to Promise, so I don't take any credit for that. But one of the things that's unique about being certified is that they can deliver care if the parents approve without the parents there. And so the third sheet that you have is the consent form, the additional consent form as a school-based health center. So I would encourage board members to encourage families to take advantage of this opportunity. You may have a medical home, the child may have a medical home somewhere else, but should probably also establish with the school health center because you can't have access to care during the school day. Typically, they welcome kids mostly from the middle school and the high school, but we will see kids from the grade schools as well. Questions?
Board questions?
I was wondering what options, I mean, is there an option, I guess, to expand to dental coverage in the future, or how would that work?
That's next.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, can I just clarify, Ms. Greenwald, when you said, you encouraged us to encourage families to access services because of, the wide accessibility, but I assume that these are families who are USD 116 families. Only USD 116 can use
No,
this.
we right now while we have access, Jenny has capacity to see children beyond the school district.
Oh,
and so the clinic is designed, and the primary program is to serve the kids of the school district. But while we have excess capacity or an open appointment,
I see. Okay.
The school district has made it available that kids outside the school district or even outside of Urbana potentially could use the health center.
Oh, thank you for,
So
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we would rather.
At this facility, I mean,
yes.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
they have the capacity to do that right now. We would never, if it ever became a barrier to kids from the school district, we would make adjustments. But right now, Jenny has the ability to take care of kids who are not currently enrolled in the school district.
Wow, yeah. So if they had a hard time getting into Francis Nelson, for example, because of wait lists or something like that, this is an alternative, a real.
Right, no wait lists at Francis Nelson. That was something that happened prior to Promise. But there
Okay,
is,
thank
but
you.
you can get in to see Jenny quicker than you can
Okay.
at Francis Nelson. That's for sure.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
And before you get to the dental part, Nancy, I always brag about the services of your agency, your health clinic, because for the parents, and I wish they had stayed that are here, for a single parent with 3 kids, I had 3 kids because my husband died, and having that clinic, I had an athlete with severe asthma, and the clinic changed his medication, which was not recognized nowhere else. And I didn't have to take off my job to have to keep running over to the clinic. Once the consent was signed, all 3 of my kids were able, even for physicals, to be able to walk over from the middle school and the high school. And the families that I had with my class of kids really appreciated not having to leave their jobs, because some of their jobs they couldn't. So I just want to let you know how much we do appreciate having you all back and are more interested in hearing more than what you got to offer. So thank you again.
I have a question too. Has anything changed with the age cutoff with your with Urbana graduates? I know that there was, I can't remember what it was, but if a senior, can you explain about that a little bit?
So I'm a pediatric trained nurse practitioner, so there's not a strict cutoff for age, but we prefer not to establish a kid who's nearing the cutoff age. So typically we won't see somebody start seeing somebody who's over 18.
Okay.
So we've had a little flexibility with the adult education. If somebody needs something, we've been a little bit more flexible. Like I said, there's not a hard cutoff, but since I'm pediatric trained, I prefer not to start seeing adults.
Sure. And I mean, I guess this kind of question goes with the dental as well. I mean, but for existing patients, once they graduate UHS and then go on, do they age out of that system? I guess that's what I'm getting at is, you know, is there a cutoff that you have for current Urbana students who are about to graduate?
So, for a child can graduate from Urbana, from the school health center to Francis Nelson and the other promise services. And so Jenny's willing to see somebody who may be 18 as part of that step to care as an adult with the rest of the promise services. And it's sort of a movement in school-based health centers to start to train kids into taking care of themselves as adults. And so I know that that's a priority of the clinic. And so one of the benefits of Promise running the health center is that they'll have they're already they're registered, they're enrolled, they're set up, their electronic medical record will follow them be able to continue care in the community.
Okay, and so, I mean, but if a kid, say, turns 18 before they actually graduate from Urbana, they're still qualified, correct, if they've been receiving care? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to say thank you for everything you do. I really like the flyer, and I think the more parents get to know about it and the more we put it out there, the better it will be. So I really like the flyer idea, and thank you very much for everything you do.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Alicia Eckhoff. I'm the Dental Program Coordinator at the Champaign-Urbana Public Health District. We've been at the School Health Center since the beginning of the Urbana School Health Center. We do create a dental home for students so they can receive all dental services there. And we're currently operating 2 days a week at the Urbana School Health Center on Mondays and Fridays. We have a dentist there, a newer dentist, Dr. Andrea Miller, and then also 2 dental hygienists, and are currently in process of hiring a dental assistant, and we have a receptionist there. We were just recently able to open a 3rd dental room there at the School Health Center. We were kind of squeezed into an office with some mobile equipment, so we can have 2 hygienists along with the dentist, which is the optimal number of providers to provide a full day of service. I provided a sheet for you that shows you monthly what our numbers have been. So just quickly, our total patients treated since July. July is our beginning of our fiscal year. Has been 533. We still struggle a bit with the no-show rate, although we call the patient 2 days ahead, or the parent 2 days ahead, and we also send passes over at the high school. But we're working with that. We also have a case manager that works with both of our clinics and with our mobile clinic. So she's contacting parents, explaining what their child's treatment is, and encouraging them to get scheduled for their appointments. We also recall our patients every 6 months for their regular checkups and cleanings. We also operate a mobile school sealant clinic throughout both Champaign and Urbana schools. You'll see the schedule of the Urbana schools below. This provides all students, not just those in the required grades, but all students the opportunity to have a dental exam, cleaning, and dental sealants and fluoride in their schools by our providers. We have mobile equipment that goes into the schools, sets up, and we basically create a dental clinic inside the school for that purpose. But the goal of that program is to bring those children into the clinic for their continuing care rather than relying on just out in the school. But for many of our students, that is the only place that they receive dental treatment.
I'm just curious, the 553, patients, would you say that's spread across pre-K through grade 12, or are they primarily, are they clustered around certain ages? The patients you saw since July?
It is really spread equally among that, yes. We also will begin, of course, seeing many more students, particularly in the preschool age, as we are at the schools. This week we're at Urbana Early Childhood and Dr. Williams School, seeing over 300 students.
Okay.
So we will see, of course, an increase at that at different times a year, but overall it's spread.
Okay. Are there things we can be doing to help get, this just seems like what a great resource for our families and others in the community too, I understand, but.
Just helping to get the word out that we do have dental there available. The school sealant program is a great introduction for parents to know more about that, but just knowing that we have a very short wait time for a new appointment there, and that they can get all of their dental services there. We do allow the high school students to come on their own, but because of the procedures that we're performing, and very often the child will be numb, we don't allow ages under that to come without a parent.
I just wonder if we're doing enough promotion within our own school, communication avenues. I know there are some forums that are more successful in reaching our parents, and I'm just wondering if
I
we're
think
using that.
they're having supposedly that large parent advocacy group that Ronnie Winston.
Yeah.
So we need Ronnie to get this out, because Ronnie belongs to 3 large Urbana parent groups and some outside. If we could get one of the heads of the parent groups to have this information at their meetings.
Yeah.
That would be one way to get it started. So if
or let Ms. Webster know too.
yeah, let
Webster,
Dion.
right.
But yeah, we'll. That'll be good.
I'll send her a
Okay.
note. Thank you. I'll send her a note.
So we'll still get the word out.
And I'd be happy to attend any of the parent meetings, so just
Okay,
let us know.
so I'll make
Okay.
sure I tell Ronnie to get in touch with
Okay,
you.
thanks.
She spoke tonight, so I'll make sure she's very involved with the parents. So,
And I'll talk to Ms. Webster if you'll talk to Mr.
okay, and
Turner.
then
Send
I'll
that
talk
on
to
Facebook.
Ronnie.
Okay.
So all I know is we appreciate you.
Yeah.
And just keep up the good work. And if anything that we can do for you, let us know. Because that's what we're here for.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for staying.
So I want to
Thank
thank
you. For
you.
staying this evening. I appreciate it.
And thanks for the way.
Yeah.
So do we have these flyers in the offices, or do you want us, Nancy, to send somebody over to the health clinic? We've got some available here that we can get, or just Ronnie contact you and?
Have her contact me, I'll get you whatever.
Okay. Well, thank you so very much. So we have no call for future special executive session meetings. No superintendent's report. Any board reports?
I do just want
Okay,
to
go ahead.
make people aware that there are 3 sub-districts that will have open seats, 4-year terms. District 2, Sub-District 2, Sub-District 4, and Sub-District 6. You can turn in all of your paperwork along with your signed petitions from December 10th to December 17th. The qualifications and the residency requirements are only that you are a qualified registered voter and not a child sex offender. Any person who, on the date of the election, is a U.S. citizen of age of 18 or over and a resident of the state and the territory encompassing the district for 1 year preceding the election is eligible.
So, I would just like to say a shout out to Mr. Mark Foley at Urbana High School. He was one of the teachers chosen for the CU School Foundation. So I think that's fabulous that we're honoring one of our own, so.
And I'm now, because they're turning in the ballots and everything, announcing I will not be running.
Okay.
I've done 13, going on 14 years. It is time for some new board members. So I am stepping down so that I've got some good families in my district so that they can come out and have an opportunity to come up to the board. So I will not be picking up a ballot. So I'm just letting the public know. And I've enjoyed the time I've had on the board.
And we've enjoyed having you,
We've
Benita.
enjoyed having you too.
And I'm glad I asked you years ago.
Yeah.
Or basically told you.
Yeah.
You're gonna run.
14, and I counted, I said 14 years. So I've enjoyed, and however I can help out on the outside, I'm still in the community, busy. But yeah, let my district have some new blood on it.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just have one brief little announcement when you're asking for board reports. I just wanted to make listeners aware that the Urbana High School a cappella choir has 2 benefits this week. One will be tomorrow night at the Broadway Food Hall, and this is the a cappella group that's won awards, throughout the state. Very excellent. So the benefit tomorrow is at the Broadway Food Hall, which is on Broadway Avenue, right next to the Station Theater, just south of University Avenue. Starting at 7 p.m., 20% of the proceeds from the sales will go to the group, and they will perform that evening at 7 o'clock. That's tomorrow. And then Friday night, they're having a cabaret at the high school at 7 p.m., $5 admission, again, to support the theater program. And the a cappella group's going to have a cabaret performance featuring tunes from the musicals Chicago, Hamilton, Wicked, and others. So 7 p.m., that's Friday at the high school theater. Tomorrow, it's at the Broadway Food Hall. But both benefits to support our a cappella choirs at the high school.
Wow, that's nice. Any more board reports?
I have one.
Yes.
I've become aware that Coach Randy Blackman has been admitted into the State Soccer Coaches Hall of Fame. So I'm hoping that we will keep this on our calendar and ask Randy to come in so that he can get our recognition. That's the first Urbana coach that's been honored in this manner in quite some time, perhaps first ever.
That is great. Tell him good luck. So any more? Okay. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Meeting adjourned.